Hey, it is Thursday, April 1st, 2021, and that means it's another edition of Thursday Thoughts with Richard. Hey, today I want to start with a quote that is often attributed to Steve Jobs, but it's actually from an Apple commercial that they entitled "Think Differently" or "Think Different." But it's one we've all heard. I think it was often eulogized for Steve Jobs after his passing. But it's here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of the rules. They have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify and vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as crazy, we see genius because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. That quote has always resonated with me deeply, probably because I am a Steve Jobs fan. He was a little bit of a psychopath, but he had vision beyond normal people's capabilities and he pushed the human race forward. There's probably been no other company in history that has impacted humanity right now as much as Apple. I think we'll look back and realize that they have changed the face of the earth, and the visionary behind it saw things that nobody else could see. But what I want to talk about today is when we're children, I think we all struggle with our uniqueness, with our gifts that we don't understand yet, the things that make us who we are. I think when we're children, we look at those things as being bad. We look at those things and we think nobody else is like this. There's something wrong with me because I like to read too much, or I like this, or I like that, or I'm introverted or extroverted, or I talk too much or talk too little, or whatever it is that makes you you. Maybe it's part of public education that we want kids to conform to a certain mold and that they have to make these test scores and meet these standards. And we really don't want different because different makes it harder on us, which I understand. You've got 25, 30 kids in a classroom, all of them individuals, they're different. That's hard. And so I think that we push this idea of conformity on kids that they start to think, man, I don't feel like I'm good enough. And they have this imposter syndrome from an early age. So what I'm going to try to do is fit in. So I want these Nike shoes or these, I'm going to date myself. But Jabot jeans was a big deal. Very expensive jeans that we could not afford, but I wanted because everybody else had them. And if I'm like everybody else, I can hide the fact that I'm a little weird. I'm a little tweaked. I'm a science nerd that's really good at math. And that's not cool because people tell me that's not cool. So I'm going to try to fit in and do that. So I think we have this idea of conformity that's ingrained in us. And so we spend the first 20 years of our life trying to fit in with everybody. And so I've heard this phrase a million times in my life, but you need to be who you needed when you were younger. And you know who I needed? I need somebody to tell me that it's okay to be the nerd. It's okay to be the science kid. It's okay to be the math kid. It's okay to be smart. Because I know that there were times in my life I probably acted like I didn't know the right answers because I didn't want to be that kid in class that knew everything because that wasn't cool. So, you know what? If I could look back and tell myself anything, not conforming is okay. It's okay to be a little bit of a rebel. It's okay to, we're all round pegs trying to go into a square hole. Everybody, the cool kids, the nerdy kids, the people who excel and that you think have it all together, they're round pegs in square holes in their own mind. What they do is we try to conform. And I just hate that because I want kids to be who they are and excel in who they are, because the things that made me different, the things that make you different are going to be what drives you in the future. The things that I thought were embarrassing made me who I am and pushed me directions that I would have never been without them. So to all of those kids who could be out there listening, share this with them. Be the person that you needed when you were younger. So what I'm going to tell you is it's okay to be the crazy one. It's okay to be the misfit. It's okay to be the round peg in a square hole, because use those gifts to push yourself forward. I hate this idea that we try to conform people into these little boxes of this it is. And we do it politically too, which drives me crazy because we always say, hey, are you liberal or conservative? No, I'm an American. I'm a person. I believe in social, equality. And I believe in that everybody has civil liberties and that everybody should be treated the same. But I also am fiscally conservative. And I personally have different beliefs that I don't think the government should be involved in anyways. So But we try to pinhole people into these. Oh, well, that's the kid that does this. That's the kid most likely to succeed. You know what? That's all crap. We are all a little tweaked. We're all a little bit of the crazy ones, but we get that broken in us through the need for this conformity while we're growing. So I think we spend like 20 years being told to be a certain way. And so we think the way that we feel inside is wrong because we're told it doesn't conform with what is the norm for that. And so the truly exceptional people sometimes hold that back for so long that they forget they have it. They forget they have that fire inside that's going to push them forward. And so they bury that and they spend their 20s trying to figure out who they are when they knew who they were, but the world told them they shouldn't be that way because it was crazy. They were a misfit. They were a round peg in a square hole. And so be who you are. Don't wait until you're in your 30s to embrace it. And I feel like that's what most of us have done is we spent 20 years being told to conform to certain things. We spent our 20s figuring out who we were and what we stood for and called it a life ethos. I mean, I've put a lot of thought into this the past couple of years. And I mean, obviously, one of my things is faith, family, and finances. The next ones are fitness and firearms. Not for everybody, but it's 5Fs. So I like that. But those are the important things to me. And I feel like my life ethos revolves around that. But it took me my 20s to figure that out. I think partially because I was told through high school, oh, you need to be this way. And then you go to college and it's a completely different experience because you're dealing with a different group of people in charge who may think differently than you've ever thought. So they cause you to think about things differently, but they still want you to conform. They don't want you to be a rebel. They don't want you to be a crazy one. They don't want you to be a round peg in a square hole. They want you to think the way they do. And so then you get into your 20s and you can think for free finally. But it takes you 10 years to figure it out. And then you spend your 30s going, man, I wish I'd have lived the first 30 years of my life the way that I felt that I should have. So my advice to anyone out there, figure out who you are. Figure out those weird idiosyncrasies that might drive other people a little bit crazy or think, man, that dude's a little tweaked, and embrace them. Because it takes a special person to understand their uniqueness and understand that that's what makes them different. But you get into applying for jobs or trying to figure out what you want to do. Guess what? You want to stand out. You want to be different from the crowd. Why dress the same? Why wear your hair the same? Why want those shoes or want those pants just because everybody else has them? And I think as adults, what you see with that is keeping up with the Joneses. It's no longer about, well, I want this to fit in. I need my new pair of Air Max Nike 97 Satan shoes or whatever they are. And then you feel like you need those to fit in. But then when you're an adult, if you haven't figured out who you are, what it is you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're trying to buy things to impress people that you don't even really like. And so I have always resonated with that quote. I'm going to say it again. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of the rules. I was never fond of the rules. They have no respect for the status quo. I will push the bounds of what is normal because I know that there is more. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. Unfortunately, the latter happens frequently. People who have visionary thoughts are vilified because they go against what you think is comfortable. They make you uncomfortable. Guess what? We're all uncomfortable. We're all uncomfortable because we've never been taught how to be comfortable with who we are. It's taken me 36 years to be comfortable exactly with who I am. I'm a little tweaked. I'm a little high energy. I don't take no for an answer. I'm a little bit stubborn. You can ask my wife. But you know what? That has driven me to such things in life that I would have never achieved. Those feelings in high school that I had like that made me think, God, I'm different. Yeah, you're damn right I was different. But I didn't embrace it then because we were taught that you need to conform. But here's the deal. You can't ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. I'm not going to throw Bill Gates in there because I think he's kind of a shady dude. But you look at a lot of these successful entrepreneurs and the things that they did, people thought they were batshit crazy. And while you may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do. So here's my advice to you. Figure out who you are. Figure out what is important to you. Use your idiosyncrasies. Use the weird things about you, the things that most people think, dude, You're not normal. Nobody's normal. We all just try to hide it. Quit hiding it. Be who you are. Change the world. Be that person. That's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this Thursday Thought with Richard. Listen to our podcast. There'll be a new one on Monday. Should be a good one. Make sure and hit the subscribe button if you like what you see, if you're following us on YouTube, or our podcast.liveitfull.com, or you can go to liveitfull.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're pretty easy to find. We would appreciate it if you've enjoyed what you saw. Take a screenshot, share it, tag me, tag Caitlin, tag our social media account so we can get the word out and we can help people to live it full. Thanks.